What if I told you that one of the most powerful criminal cases in modern history didn't end with justice, but with silence? A story where the richest people in the world were close enough to touch the truth, yet somehow walked away untouched. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein and the files that many believe were never meant to be seen. Jeffrey Epstein was not a movie star. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't even a household name at first. Yet somehow, this man moved in circles that most people can only dream about. Presidents, billionaires, celebrities, royal figures, people with real power. Epstein lived in massive mansions, flew private jets, on a private island, and lived a lifestyle that screamed extreme wealth. The strange part was that no one could clearly explain how he made his money. He called himself a financial expert, but his actual business activities were vague, secretive, and almost invisible. Still, doors opened for him everywhere. Behind the luxury and connections, something much darker was happening. Over the years, Jeffrey Epstein was accused of abusing underage girls. According to victims, he used money, gifts, and promises of opportunities to manipulate them. Many of these girls came from difficult backgrounds and felt trapped, powerless, and afraid to speak up. Epstein wasn't just wealthy, he was connected. And when someone like that hurts you, the fear isn't just about the crime. It's about who will believe you. In 2008, Epstein was finally caught. This should have been the moment everything changed. But instead of facing serious punishment, Epstein received an unusually light deal. Many charges were dropped. He served very little time. For a crime involving multiple victims, the punishment shocked the public. People began asking uncomfortable questions. How did he get away with this? Who helped him? And why did the system seem to protect him? Years passed, and Epstein quietly returned to his rich and powerful lifestyle. But in 2019, everything came crashing down. New investigations reopened the case. More victims came forward. The evidence was stronger. Epstein was arrested again, this time facing serious federal charges. For the first time, it felt like the truth might finally come out. People believed that Epstein would be forced to talk, to name names, to expose who knew what and when. But then something happened that would turn this case into a global mystery. Before the trial could begin, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. Authorities ruled it a suicide, but almost immediately, the public reacted with disbelief. Epstein was on suicide watch. Guards were supposed to be monitoring him. Cameras were supposed to be working. Yet somehow, on one of the most important nights of the case, everything failed at once. Cameras malfunctioned. Guards were asleep. Records were missing. And just like that, Epstein was gone. With his death, the biggest fear became reality. The man who knew everything would never testify. A trial that could expose powerful people would never happen. And the truth would remain buried. This is where the Epstein Files come in. The Epstein Files are a collection of documents connected to the case. Flight logs from his private jet, contact lists, court testimonies, emails, and sealed records that were hidden from the public for years. These files include the names of powerful individuals who had contact with Epstein, flew with him, or visited his properties. Important to understand, being named in these files does not automatically mean guilt. Some people may have had innocent interactions, but the presence of these names raised serious questions. Questions that many feel were never properly answered. For years, parts of these files were sealed, locked away, hidden from public view. And every time new documents were released, people were reminded that this case wasn't just about one man. It was about a system that allowed abuse to happen, minimized it, and then quietly moved on. What makes the Epstein case so disturbing isn't only the crimes themselves. It's the pattern, the delayed justice, the silence, the lack of accountability, the feeling that when money and power are involved, the rules change. Victims were left without closure. The public was left with theories instead of answers. Today, the Epstein Files still trend because people believe the story isn't finished, because justice feels incomplete, because when a case involving so many powerful figures ends without a trial, it leaves a question hanging in the air. What else don't we know? Jeffrey Epstein is gone, but the shadow he left behind is still here. And until every truth is revealed, the Epstein Files will remain one of the most unsettling reminders that sometimes the truth exists but never fully comes out. And even after Epstein's death, the story refused to stay buried. Because when someone that powerful dies before speaking, attention doesn't disappear, it multiplies. Investigators began asking a new question. If Epstein didn't act alone, then where were the others? For years, victims had claimed there were people who knew exactly what was happening. People who saw the girls. People who benefited from the silence. But with Epstein gone, the spotlight shifted to the system around him. Lawyers, officials, institutions, and elite circles that seemed to look the other way. More documents started surfacing. More court records were unsealed. More names appeared. Again, not proof of guilt, but proof of proximity. And in true Gen Z fashion, the internet did what it always does. It investigated. Old interviews were rewatched. Photos resurfaced. Flight logs were analyzed. Patterns were noticed. And the phrase Epstein didn't kill himself became more than a meme. It became a symbol of public distrust. Because for many people, the official story didn't match the circumstances. A high-profile prisoner, known connections to powerful figures, multiple failures happening at the same time. It felt less like an accident and more like a system collapsing conveniently. At the center of all this were the victims, people whose voices were often drowned out by headlines, debates, and theories. Many of them said the worst part wasn't just what happened to them, but what happened after. Not being believed, being ignored, watching the man accused of harming them live freely for years, and then watching him die before ever answering for his actions in court. Civil lawsuits followed. Some settlements were reached. Some answers came out. But for many, it still felt like justice was partial. Like the truth was filtered. Like the full picture was never shown. And that's why the Epstein Files matter. Not because people want drama. Not because people want conspiracy. But because transparency matters. When powerful people are involved in serious crimes, silence feels dangerous. When evidence is sealed, trust breaks. And when victims don't see accountability, society starts asking harder questions. The Epstein case became bigger than Epstein himself. It became a symbol of how systems can fail, how money can delay consequences, how influence can bend rules, and how truth can be locked away. Not because it doesn't exist, but because revealing it would be inconvenient. Years later, the case still resurfaces, still trends, still sparks debates, because unfinished stories don't disappear. They linger, they haunt, they wait, and maybe that's the most uncomfortable part of all. Not knowing who was protected, not knowing what was erased, not knowing how close the world came to hearing the full truth. Jeffrey Epstein died in a cell, but the questions he left behind are still very much alive. And until those questions are fully answered, the Epstein Files will remain one of the clearest reminders that sometimes the truth isn't hidden, it's just locked away. Jeffrey Epstein is gone, but the silence he left behind is louder than ever. The files exist, the questions remain, and until the full truth is revealed, this story isn't over, it's just unfinished.